Show with Paul Dehner, Mark Chalifoux. Kick off the weekend, all right. It's the Growler Friday show. It's Dey Light.
All right, welcome into the latest edition of Dey Light. Paul Dehner Jr. of The Athletic here with you. Mark is off. He's off vacationing, gallivanting, if you will, in Florida. So we stayed in the comedy universe. You know, I'm not going to stray too far from what we are here on Dey Light, and brought in our great friend of the program, comedian, owner of Cincy Shirts, all around good dude, Josh Sneed. What's up, buddy?
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I am excellent. It's great to have you here. Now, I mean, most people listen to us, just listen and don't watch us on the YouTube. You should be watching on our YouTube channel, the Growler Podcast on YouTube. If you are, you're seeing I'm sporting the Norwood Lateral shirt.
Yeah,
my favorite to wear, an absolute class that you didn't even remember that you guys made, that I had to point out because it is so obscure. But in honor of the other side of the Norwood Lateral shutting down today, it felt you were on the show, the Lateral shutting down. I had to pull out my favorite Cincy shirt of all time, the Norwood Lateral shirt.
The obscure ones are always fun.
Yes.
I remember one of the first ones that we ever did was Spring Break Norwood.
Oh.
Back in the early days, like the Look at Me Shirts days, we had another favorite was A1A Beachmont Avenue.
Yeah,
and it had like a Lamborghini with like a girl in a bikini, and it was so random, and people just thought it was hilarious.
Yes, I love it, and the more obscure, the better. You guys still have a ton of those obscure ones that are up in your store, but the best thing is you guys being able to just print on demand now. Is I can just, there's just a file. Like, I know you've got it on file. Can you search? There's got to be something, and they'll just print it right there, and boom, next thing you know. So maybe we can make these popular again. Go on in honor of the Lateral shutting down and getting refurbished. Go in, ask for them to print you up some Norwood Lateral shirts. Tell them Paul sent you.
I love it.
So we need to bring it back. Well, great to have you. We're Mark's on vacation, but we're still gonna talk about a bunch of stuff. You were at the Burrow fundraiser after party. You were heckling Bengals players just 1 week ago. I want to make sure we talk about that. There was a tiger on the loose in Cincinnati that we need to make sure we're discussing. We need to talk about shirts possibilities for this Bengals team in this season. There's a lot.
All of this within the last 7 days. Like, none of this is like, oh, we haven't talked in a year, so let's catch up. Yeah. This is like in the last 7 days.
Yeah, there is no slow season when it comes to weird stuff in the Cincinnati Bengals. So we got that. I do want to tick through some news with you first, because we got to take care of our Bengals fans that are doing what we do right now, right? What are Bengals fans doing today? Tell me about Burrow's wrist. What the hell is happening? Is everything okay? I'm losing it over here, right? That we knew this was going to be a hard time. It's a long way to get to August till you can really make these true, like, okay, Burrow just ripped it in practice. Everything's looking great. Show me the highlights in slow motion again, right? That it was going to be a long way to get to there. And he's going through this process. He's doing it kind of publicly. And he he doesn't practice this week. Here's, by all accounts from I know, everything's okay. Everyone calm down. Everything's okay. All right. Here's all I know. And I said the same thing. Tuesday, mandatory minicamp. Burrow goes out there and rips it and throws it around a little bit. Everybody's going to feel good. You can go in your summer and feel okay. If he doesn't, then we're unfortunately all going to be in a season of judging how he's holding his cup at his charity events.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that.
I mean, it was pretty wild that they actually had to have Zach do a press conference on an unscheduled press conference day. Right. I heard someone on the radio, it might have been you on the radio, saying like, that's where we are with this, is that we have to announce that everything's okay, instead of just people assuming everything's okay.
Everybody has only one feeling right now, one emotion, is that it's going to be the worst. It's going to be the bad thing. The bad thing's coming, right? Everybody's just
waiting. Sports. I mean, it's like ingrained in us, right? It's just we have to assume that something is wrong.
Yes.
You get too high on your horse, you get knocked down real quick around here.
Yeah. I think there's a meme going around, and one of my favorites that it applies to Cincinnati sports, and it's a picture of a kid, 8-year-old kid sleeping on this pillow, and it says, "8-year-old me, I hope something good happens." And then and below it, it says, "Me now, I hope whatever bad happens is at least funny." Like, that's kinda where Cincinnati sports are. As a kid, you're like, "Oh, this is gonna be great," and then the older person's like, "I hope at least it makes me laugh," That's all.
I think who I really feel for are like the kids right now, like my son or my daughter who's 8, that all she's known since she could even, really wrap her head around sports is that the Bengals are really good.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? She has no context at all, like nothing to draw from of like, remember how bad it used to be? Well, let's just enjoy it right now. I
Yeah.
think that's sort of a saving grace of what we're going through with any negative Bengals news is like it's not hard to remember how bad it was and give yourself a little perspective. But
Yeah. But
there's kids
nobody
out
wants
there.
to go back to those days.
No,
Nobody.
I just certainly don't.
Nobody wants to go back there, and that's the fear. This is the fear, dude, okay? And so, it's everybody hoping that that's not what's gonna happen, because everybody knows if you get bad news about Burrow, it could be the big one, right? And nobody wants
Yeah.
that. But it seems to be everything's okay. I mean, from the newsy aspect of this, everything seems to be fine. Looking forward to seeing what we're gonna see next week at the mandatory minicamp. We can make a little bit more of a judgment over whatever is going. Like I said, with Jay, I mean, it's okay. Take time off. Do not push anything. If there is anything, don't push it. Take it easy. Get through it. It's June. Like,
Right.
there's no reason to be messing around. There were supposed to be days off. They were supposed to be taking it easy. They were supposed to be scaling it back and listening to your body better. So everybody
Yeah.
calm down and understand it's okay. This is part of the process.
I think if anybody would be given a pass to not participate in OTAs, like some other people, that Joe would get the first one, and he's choosing to be there and be as active as he has been, and throw hard, enough to impress people. I feel like that should tell you he, things are trending in the right direction if
Yes.
he's already saying, let me go.
Yes, and I think that's the biggest thing is there's also that aspect of protecting him from himself that we've talked about that, like,
Yeah.
look, there's no reason to push on June. What are we at now? June 7th. So,
Yeah.
but mandatory minicamp next week. And so that'll be 1, 2, maybe 3 days, depending on how many Zach Taylor wants to give them off at the end and dismiss them for summer, which always happens. So I don't know. You never know how many days you're actually going to get out of the minicamp with them. They had some team bonding this week. They went fouling. They went to the warehouse in Norwood.
It is fouling. I was
Bowling, just
told.
making sure. Yeah.
I
But I
I
mean,
asked.
yeah. I mean, good for them. Looked like a lot of fun. I would like to see, like, the offensive linemen have to go do a ropes course for team bonding. Like, we all, like, everybody, like, when you were a kid, like, that was how our team bonding looked like. You had to climb up the rope and support your teammates. Like, imagine standing underneath Amarius Mims. Like, we're here to support you.
Ball.
Yeah. That's the kind of team bonding I want to see. Forget this going bowling stuff.
And what better advertising could a local ropes course have than to say it supports the entire Bengals offensive line?
Yeah.
So
Except that
if
ropes
you
course
really
is
want to
more
feel
worried that
safe.
it doesn't. And then actually there's a lawsuit involved. Yeah. Just not good for anybody. But that's what I want. Like, this looked way too safe. That's way too safe for team bonding. We need more fear involved. But yeah, so that's news there. Joint practices are happening.
I saw that.
There's going to be 2 of them this year. One in Chicago before the preseason game against the Bears. That will be on August 15th. And then 5 days later, 2 days before the game against the Colts, they will have one down at the practice fields.
And what could go wrong with joint practices? I mean,
the image, I will never get rid of the image of Aaron Donald just holding Bengals helmets, staring them down. I mean, talk about the absolute nightmare fuel. The thing is that I love is they have learned from it is, like, whatever you do when you do joint practices, don't do the second day. Don't do 2 days. that one day everybody's happy. Day two, that happiness is gone, and that's when it goes awry. So now you get one day with the Bears, one day with the Colts. Don't do the second day to avoid all of the mess. But one thing I was saying, and when the schedule came out, Mark and I talked about sneaky cool trip if you have kids is Chicago in the summer is awesome. And it's a really good kids city. You can do lots of cool stuff with kids there. You could now add a joint practice and preseason games are awesome for kids. Like regular season games can be very questionable, especially for younger kids.
Yeah.
And so, but preseason has none of that. You get all the fun of being there, seeing the players doing that stuff. You get the fun of a road trip if you want to do that because it's easily drivable to get to Chicago. You could add in a joint practice potentially. I don't know the situation with their availability or openness or tickets for that in terms of the Chicago one, but look into it. And now you get a preseason game and that, which is great up close stuff of the Bengals, and a day and a weekend in Chicago. The only problem is school starts that week in CPS with Cincinnati Public, but if you're around and your school hasn't started yet, that could be a really fun trip with kids. It's got even better now, potentially, if you could find a way into those joint practices. I'm not sure. Again,
I feel like being a visiting fan on the road is a lot of times better because you stick out and your team is happy to see familiar faces or friendly faces in the crowd that you might get a little closer, a little bit more love from a Bengals player than maybe you would in a stadium full of them here at a home game.
Absolutely. This is a weird, obscure story, but back when I worked in the Red Scoreboard, there was notably a person he was an adult, show up with a backpack, and he'd show up at batting practice in the opposing team's jersey and ask for baseballs from players from whatever just to collect all of them, right? Which is because it's just, can you be a bigger nerd in low life? But he would do this we'd see him like, oh, guess who's back in a Padres jersey, in a Marlins jersey, collecting baseballs and soliciting baseballs from players out there and then putting them into his giant backpack to go, sell or whatever the hell he's going to do with them. And it's just like, ugh, but it's true. That's, you definitely are getting noticed. I mean, if Jamar Chase sees a Bengals fan in the middle of 20 Bears kids standing there, he's going to run over probably and, say hello, give him an autograph, whatever he's going to do.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's no question you would stand out. I don't know the Bears situation, but maybe you can, if it is hard to get into, maybe you can sneak in or something.
It's worth finding out.
But that was fun. The joint practices, obviously that news going outside of that, not a ton of news. I mentioned, you're going to have mandatory minicamp going on next week, and that will dismiss everybody for the summer, essentially until we get back near the end of July, and they'll come back for training camp and off we go. But for now, this is kind of the last hurrah of the off-season program coming.
It's just crazy that just the way you say it, like they're dismissed and we won't see them again until training camp 6 weeks later. Like it's not even, it's just like there's always something now with football, whether it's, the Super Bowl and figuring out what the draft's going to look like and then the OTAs. And it's just like, I felt like I remember as a kid, it was, you heard about training camp, right? At Georgetown. And then that was it. You didn't really see a lot there. I remember when people started first going to Georgetown, I was like, dude, you can go down and get right there. And every player comes by, and it's just crazy how the sport and the Bengals in particular have evolved into literally year-round news.
Yeah, NFL is just a wizard at pulling that stuff off, man. It is it's unbelievable. And they can make anything into a tentpole event, even just dudes running in shorts. Like they've turned that into a monstrosity with the combine. The schedule release has become a monster that they've pushed into mid-May to extend draft season, essentially. I mean, you name it. They're able to do it. All right, I wanted to shift forward here real quick and talk to you about your experience with some Bengals fundraisers. that happened last weekend. I guess last weekend now.
Last Friday, yeah.
Last Friday. It was a big day for Bengals golf fundraisers.
Yeah.
You had the Joe Burrow Foundation Shroud of Secrecy fundraiser event that happened at Stone Lick Hills that nobody's allowed to know about. I envision that anybody that had to go work that was blindfolded and thrown into the back of a dark limo and then taken secretly to a place so they can't tell anybody, their phones confiscated so no one can know until afterwards. Shout out though, they raised $1.1 million. Like nice haul. Okay.
I've never been to a golf event where there is a police presence at the entrance to make sure you're on the list to get to go park your car.
Yes, they do not mess around. But the same day was also an event that you worked at the actual course, right? Which was the Chip in for Charity. What was that event?
So it's been going on for a few years now. Lindsay Reisert and Slink Events put on this event with our buddy DJ E-Train. And they have a lot of Bengals that come out to this event, and it's over at Elks Run. It's an awesome event. This year was to benefit the Lighthouse Youth and Family Services. And so I've typically played in the event. And then this year they asked if I would sit on the 10th hole with our friend John and do the back off challenge where you try to get people to back away from teeing off because you're heckling them.
Yes.
And we became known as the heckle hole, and it was absolutely outstanding to have a microphone and a speaker just talking trash to complete strangers
or Bengals players. I assume that when the Bengals play, you've got built-in ammo because you know a little bit about all of them. That when they started coming through, I assume that some of the Bengals players took it on the chin as well.
They did. I told Logan Wilson and Joe Baki that they look like every tag team in the WWE that you know is going to lose because they just come out to their real names.
And they're just in the small shorts, like the tight. Yeah. That's it. That's no emblems, no name. They just come out.
It's like the Undertaker versus Ron Jones, the jobbers as they're called in the industry.
Yeah. I love it.
So all the Bengals players, they didn't have carts. They had these like motorcycles that had their golf bag on the motorcycle, and that's what they used. And so I told Sam, I said, it's nice to see that Sam brought his school bus from being a kid to ride around the course today. There was a guy.
Who else from the Bengals was at the Chip In for Charity?
Logan Wilson, Evan McPherson, Brad Robbins. So there was a
Brad Robbins. I mean, that's pretty easy. I mean, between the mustache and being a punter, like he's kind of that's kind of an easy hit.
Well, there was a guy that had an attractive lady in his cart with him, and I said, "Looks like Brad Robbins isn't the only person out kicking his coverage here on the course today." That got a good laugh. I referred to one guy who looked like he had just bought his attire that morning. I announced him teeing off as TJ Maxx. Then there was a gentleman who was bald, but he had a golf visor on, so his bald head was sticking out. And I said, that hat makes you look like you're giving birth to yourself. And right before he swung, I said, he's crowning, and all of his people fell off. And it was probably the line of the day, if I'm being honest. But Zach Sweeney was also on microphone and with John and I, and man, it was so fun to just absolutely rip these people.
I don't understand how anybody who's bald, as a very proud bald man, can wear a visor. It's the one piece of attire that you just got to give up. You just got to concede on, and it serves no purpose.
What are you doing? Are you protecting your face and not caring about the top of your head?
The top of your head, that's where the damage is done. Like that,
and it's gonna leave like a ring. Like you know what I mean? Like it's not even like a David Duval left his Oakleys on too long. That's a reference I didn't think I'd be using today. but you're gonna have a straight ring all the way around your head. Like, what are you doing, buddy?
When we were on vacation in Colorado, it was really windy, and so I had to turn my hat around backwards because it was blowing off the red rocks. Like I was like, I'm gonna lose it over the cliff. So I turned my hat around backwards. Not that I'm necessarily against that, but I did, and I did that for a lot of our hike. And I come home and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had like the
Get
window,
the little reading rainbow logo.
the reading rainbow tan in the middle of my forehead. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. So yeah, you got to be careful. You got to be careful what you're doing up there. Like a lot can happen and it's very notable. I just can't imagine the concept. But so you guys were there, chip in for charity. Great stuff. Make sure, if you ever have a chance to support, make sure you do that. We know you guys support Joe Burrow and the Joe Burrow Foundation.
Boy, do they.
You ended up over at the after party, right?
I did.
For that. Let's
I
take us inside the Joe Burrow fundraiser after party.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I am going to send you some pictures from inside the event just so people can see the decorations and stuff. But I would say game day probably put it on.
They did.
Was, I mean, dude, first class everything. The decor, it was catered by Jeff Ruby, so there was an entire JB Foundation ice sculpture with the shrimp and the sushi bowls and the Freddy salad. How could you not?
Of course.
I
mean, anytime you show up at an event and there's an ice sculpture, you're all right. Stay. Don't leave.
Yeah.
Stay.
Yeah.
That means it's real.
Yeah. And several players there. Sam Hubbard showed up there. Ted Karras, Cordell Volson was there. Of course, Joe made an appearance with his parents. Just awesome, like silent auction stuff and live auction stuff. They had a guy who I guess he was like a long drive champion that was hitting like one-handed drives for people if you paid for it. And I think that hole alone raised like 40 grand or something on the day. It's just like, what do you people do? Where am I? That it's just like, like this is the mark of a rich event. Okay. When there is a Joe Burrow Fanatics autograph jersey that is available online for $600 or $700 that goes for $5 grand, you are just in a place where people do not care.
Do not care. It's
like you're paying $4,300 for just not having to go online and buy it. Like that's how much money you have. Like just for the convenience of I've got it, I don't have to wait for it to be shipped to my house.
No, it's unbelievable. What I love is, and we were talking about this before we started, because one of your friends won the event, right?
Yeah, my cousin was one of the winning golfers on the afternoon flight.
Yeah, and you said it was his team. Who was on his team?
I don't know. There's one gentleman I did not know. Another guy from Huntington Bank who I believe sits on the board for the Joe Burrow Foundation. And then former Mayor John Cranley was on the team.
Yeah. So the thing is, if you have mayors, former mayors definitely have time to improve their golf game.
Yep.
Anyone who sits on a board,
anybody,
is unbelievable at golf. Like if you're ever looking for somebody, just look up whatever local board, a bank board, a Burrow Foundation board, doesn't matter. Look up their names, find them, ask them if they want to go play golf in whatever your charity event is, because you're probably going to win. You need those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Board members. That's where you're at.
It must be real nice to be able to do that, to just sit on boards and play golf when you're bored.
One day, Josh, one day.
Let's start a 501c3, me and you, and we'll just sit on the board.
We'll sit on the board.
We'll just wait to get invited to go play golf places.
That is an excellent idea. All right, before we go starting any boards or anything like that, we got to go get to our guy. Let's bring in our segment with our great friend, Eric Stano. All right, it is now that time to bring in our friend, our guy, Eric Stano of Team Stano over at Keller Williams, #1 real estate YouTube channel in Cincinnati at Team Stano. Make sure you guys are checking it out. What's going on?
What's up, Paul? It's good to see you. Hope your summer's going well.
It is going well. It is going very well. I'm seeing like I'm getting itchy. I'm like getting a project done. I got my porch done. Okay, it's looking nice. Got the new porch all set up. And you know what it does though? It just makes me think about all the other projects I want to do.
I know it. Once you start doing one, they just snowball.
I know they keep coming so fast. But everybody knows you can, if you've got ideas about projects you want to know about Cincinnati neighborhoods, maybe you want to just buy or sell a house. Team Stano, they are for you. And they're one of us, which is what's awesome. And what do you got for me this week? What do you got for me? Let's go. I'm ready.
Yeah, I've got a question. I mean, I think the question that's obviously on every Bengals fan's mind right now with the Justin Jefferson contract that's out there. Big news is, does Jamar Chase have a real estate agent? I think this is really important to know. If not, I could recommend one, but no. So
you know what's funny about that? There was actually, when he first came here, he wanted to go live over by Burrow and was essentially either him or someone in representing him was kind of going door to door over in Burrow's neighborhood, just being like, "Hey, I'll sell you. You know,
I am
familiar with the house. How many? What do you need? What do you want?"
Around the corner from my office here in Columbia, Tuscaloosa.
I mean, I'm just saying it's happened. So he probably could use it.
Okay. So real question. Father's Day is coming up. Shout out to Mark Chalifoux, my dad, great, amazing man and father. You and Jay were talking about Evan McPherson the other day in the softball charity event, him just blasting bombs out of the ballpark. And I liked your theory about kickers being able to do a repeatable process. I thought that was good, but it got me thinking. I wonder if there's something else contributing to this, because we all know Evan's got a contract coming up. We're all familiar with contract year bump, where you get that, little level up in production. But also with Evan specifically, he's a new dad. He's a new dad with Logan Wilson. You got that photo on the same day. It's incredible. And I'm curious. I mean, you and I know, Mark knows, you guys do the dad life here. Nothing changes your life more than being a dad, right? You stop thinking only about yourself. You've got this new life to take care of. You learn how selfish you are. And you might have so I'm curious, in all of your years of covering the team, besides a contract year bump, is there such a thing as a new dad bump? Because all these guys in their 20s, they're getting married, they're having kids. Have you seen a bump in production from guys becoming new dads?
Now, I don't have this nailed down in terms of specific numbers. I have tried to make this a thing many times, because it has been something that you talk to them naturally about, and they talk about how they feel changed and more focused, and so they always say that, like, that is obviously a thing. I mean, the maturity, I think with a lot of young guys, you count on specifically players that have a ton of talent but need to grow up. I mean, that is a lot of these young guys is when they get good is usually when it all clicks in the maturity level. That can be a sign of, okay, it forces maturity on some players, and you've seen that in the past. That wasn't really a thing with McPherson or with Logan Wilson when they came in. They came in with a reputation of being pretty mature players for their age, and they acted that way. But that said, there's been plenty of times over the years where I've said it, and then it doesn't make a change. They say it will, and it doesn't. Inevitably, I think there's a lot of other factors, but I think players maturing is a real thing too, and so that I don't discount it as something that can be a determining factor, and you've seen cases where it has. So I'll give you that. I do think it's possible, specifically if a player has been kind of unfocused and undisciplined.
Hey, nothing matures you
now
faster.
They have something to play for.
That's right.
Specifically,
nothing matures you faster than going home and hearing a crying baby, and you got to put food in that mouth to get it to be quiet.
There's no question about that. All right, so I mentioned all these projects I've been thinking about. I got one for you. You know, when you're out here, you're looking around in the market, you see all these different options. Should I be, if I'm looking to buy, am I looking at a new build, or should I be looking to just buy a house that's already on the market? Is it better with where things are at right now to just go and get something new?
Yeah, it could be. That's a good question. I mean, there's pros and cons to each new construction versus a resale home. I mean, a resale home, it's going to be less expensive overall. But where we're at in the market in Cincinnati is we are super low inventory. We have been for years, and we probably will be for the next several years too. Last year, there was a report that said Cincinnati was the fastest selling home market in the United States. So it's like you're buying a house that's less expensive, but you have to elbow out like 10 other buyers. You're going into multiple offers. Maybe you got to waive inspections, and it's stressful. You might lose out on a couple offers. So are you really getting the house you want when there's so low inventory out there? Maybe, maybe not. The advantage of new construction is a lot of that stress goes away. You can pick the neighborhood. You can pick the floor plan. You can pick the color scheme and all that stuff on the front end. So you're getting the house you want. Whereas on a resale home, you might be putting money into those updates anyway. You might be updating the kitchen and the bath. Also, you got to think about those mechanicals might be older. There might be a new roof coming up, or new furnace, or new windows, or whatever that is. So that can add up. I mean, overall, it's still going to be more expensive for new construction, but in terms of that maintenance ongoing and year in, everything's brand new roof, new furnace, new windows. And so you've got a little bit of breathing space there. So there's pros and cons to each. One tip, if you do go new construction, there's a lot of great builders in the area. Builders will pay for a real estate agent, but only if the agent brings the new lead to them. And so if you just walking, you're like, I got a free Saturday, I want to go into a model home. If you do that and you don't have an agent on your side and you want to build a house, you're only going to be working with the builder then. So I strongly recommend reach out to the agent first. If an agent makes the introduction, then you're going to be working with the builder, and you'll have that third-party agent representation, and the builder is going to pay the commission for the agent. Doesn't impact your costs at all. So I just recommend reaching out to an agent first. So yeah, there's a little difference between new construction and resale.
And if you want to reach out to an agent, boy, do I have the person for you. Of course, join the Stano Clanyo.
Yeah, Jamar.
Give a call. Give a call, Jamar. It's not that hard. No, you're listening. You go Instagram, eStano. Or also, of course, if you're going to buy or sell a home, go directly info@teamstano.com or go to www.teamstano.com to connect, become part of the clan. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Paul. See you.
Yep. All right. Great to have Eric Stano crushing it for us. Buy, sell.
Some great insight about being.
I'm telling you. I'm like, I come away every week and I'm like, write that down. Okay, gonna need that. And the best part is, getting to know him a little bit more now. Like, he's got guys, right? And everybody knows when you are a homeowner, you need access to guys who can do it. So it's like a guy to help me with my porch thing, and a guy that can help me with this thing. Like, you got to have somebody who knows guys, and Eric knows all the guys. And so it's beneficial. It's beneficial.
Yeah. That's me. I need guys. Yeah. I talk about it on stage. I say I'm team call a guy. I'm not myself guy.
There's the last thing you want to see is me doing something important. Okay.
I can't wait for you to see my new set, because I have a whole thing in my act about me not being that guy. So I have to call a guy.
Dude, I mean, at a certain point, you got to reach a point where you say it's just better for everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone is better off.
I know I'm going to feel dumb one of two ways. I can either drive to Lowe's and feel dumb trying to explain to the guy what's going on at my house, knowing he's just going to make fun of me to his coworkers when I leave, and then it's going to be a disaster. Or I can just feel dumb that I had to call a guy to come to my house and fix it for me. I'm always going to choose that one.
Yeah. It's just, I am 100% behind you on that one. I need all that professional help that I can get in really a lot of ways. But so I want to give you, we've got to make sure we talk about something that's going on right now. And it's Bengals related in that it was a tiger in Cincinnati. Okay. So I feel like we can tie it in, but I think we might on Dey Light just need to have like Paul reads the funny news story of the week that I just can't get out of my head, because this is where I'm at with the loose tiger story. So basically I'll kind of run that. I'd like to read our great friends at Fox 19. I'd like to kind of just read this story about what's happened to give you some background. So this happened earlier this week. A woman who works at the University of Cincinnati says she did see a tiger wandering near the campus early Monday morning, despite what Cincinnati police said. Quote, I smelled it when I went down in the parking lot. I was like, it smells like the zoo. like real strong, real bad. And I'm walking and I can see a big old tiger just creeping, Tony Jackson said. She says she was walking out to her car for her lunch break when she spotted the tiger. I looked up, I looked back down at my phone, I looked right back at my phone because I thought I was seeing things. And I looked right back up and said, that's a tiger. And at that moment, I'm like, what do I do? Jackson and her supervisor both called 911, and nearly 36 Cincinnati police officers responded to the area. I don't know the exact address, but it's a tiger loose, the supervisor told dispatchers. I have a worker here, and she literally saw the tiger. It's walking on Martin Luther King, right? And so Jackson says she told officers what she saw, and she also pointed out prints left in the nearby mulch. He looked at the grass, at the footprints. The other officer was like, are you sure it's not a dog or a Great Dane or a Cane Corso? And I'm like, no, ma'am, my dad breeds dogs. I know the difference between a tiger and a dog or a deer. I know what I've seen, right? And the other officer was like, no, I believe her because I hunt and these aren't deer or dog tracks. Jackson says the other officers then asked her if she was on drugs. I said, ma'am, I'm on my way to a lunch break. I work here. I literally was on my way to my car on Martin Luther King and stopped in my tracks. Eventually, the police put up a drone. They get a better view. There's a lot of fog at the time, reducing their visibility. Cameras in the area weren't working. However, according to radio traffic, group of students flagged down one of the officers' report. They saw a tiger outside of their apartment. I don't know if I'm believing the students outside of.
Is that post the story getting onto social media?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I'm going to need to see some timelines on that. Jackson says she doesn't understand how a tiger can just vanish into thin air, but she's sticking by her story. I'm not going to take the time out of my day to create a whole lot of mayhem over something that I thought I saw. So if they do catch it, or when they do catch it or come across it, it's just like at that point going to be like, okay, you were right. And there's someone out there with an exotic animal they're not supposed to have. Since 2012, it's been illegal to own dangerous wild animals in Ohio unless you are grandfathered in and you have a special permit. Thanks to Joe Exotic. I just love, look, you think I'm calling 911 saying I saw a tiger on my lunch break?
Yeah.
That I want to do this. Like, I love this woman. I wish we actually could have gotten Ms. Jackson here on this show.
I also she
only
assumes no one does drugs on their lunch break.
No, never.
Like, that is an after work activity. I would not do that between the hours of 12 and 1.
Never. Here's my question for you off of that. You are on your lunch break, not doing drugs, as one doesn't. And you see a tiger. You pull out your phone. You don't take a picture first?
Right.
Or do you take a picture or do you call 911 first when you see the tiger?
Right. In this world star world that we live in, you always get the video first.
Yes. Video, picture, tiger, right? Now call 911. Right? Because here's the thing. If that tiger wants to attack you and eat you, the time of taking the picture or the video ain't saving you. All right?
Right.
And in fact, at least then we can see what did kill you.
That's right.
If he mauls you.
That's right. Plus the police or zoo or whoever is coming to help you will not be there in time either.
No. No, it's over. Like you're either screwed or you got a picture of it, okay? And it's killing her here, because everyone's questioning. And that's what a faulty error. You got to take the picture of the video first.
Yes.
I couldn't believe it. And then I don't know if you saw going around the Walnut Hills tiger, which was just it looked like a big dog that was laying next to a fence that had the shadows put stripes on it. I saw that one.
No, I didn't.
You were going around. It was pretty good.
We live for this stuff.
Yeah, this is it. And you did. And so Cincy Shirts, you're all over it. You had anybody seen the tiger say yeah, right? Which is
the greatest internet video of all time.
We've talked about this before, but I think they're showing up again, right? So this is another one of these because we had the Price Hill monkeys.
Yeah.
That happened, that situation in the trees or whatever it was. And so way back in the day, we had the Oakley bear that showed up. I think a collector's series is in play here.
We can incorporate the Loveland Frogman.
Yeah.
I'm down, dude.
Let's go.
That's my
I think
favorite internet video of all time. And
all
I know
time.
you and I share a love for it,
Yeah.
but it's like it's to the point now where when something like this happens, it's the first thing that I think of is that guy.
Hey, you went amateur sketch, by the way, with your guy's shirt, which I appreciated. There it is.
The way he looks back, where he's like, it's my favorite. If you've
I
never
wanna know
seen
what
the
to go with
video,
that.
go look it up.
Yeah, I
Leprechaun.
mean, Mobile, Alabama, Leprechaun, the greatest video of all time. But that's why I appreciate everybody seeing the Tiger say, yeah, which is great shirt. I would happily get the collector's series and hang them up here behind me if we can throw them all together here.
Yeah, let's take
over years.
take suggestions from people. What other incidents have we not thought of that would go with the Say Yeah collection?
Yeah. and if you don't think you have any more, just wait a couple days.
Yeah.
Around this place, there's always something. There's always something. Somebody thought they saw something, whether on drugs on their lunch break or not.
Well, that's what I had us tweet out first. Was it was probably some drunk guy watching old scoreboard pregame videos from Paul Brown when they had the CGI vines taking over all the buildings downtown and
Yes,
tigers walking in front of Union Terminal.
that's it. They were having flashbacks to the good old days. Speaking of, did you go get a TV last week? You go get a TV?
I did not jump on the TV train. I have yet to get a report on what that scene was like. Was it pretty chaotic? Do you know? Is it well?
It's a good question. I'm disappointed in our listeners, which I'm not. Normally, I'm a pretty proud parent here. Everybody comes through, but I didn't get any reports. Nobody went down to try to purchase a TV, perhaps because we made it sound as dangerous as it probably was. Just announcing a bunch of people holding cash are going to be downtown at the same time. So maybe you all were smart and didn't go, but I did not get any reports other than someone saying they didn't go to get the TV, but a lot of people are really interested in seeing if they're going to sell the urinals next. Because we've talked with our guy Stano about the concept of having a urinal in your house a lot. And so people are looking to now, what can we get some Paul Brown, some stadium urinals? And so maybe that'll be next. When they sold out the TVs next, it's $15 urinals. Maybe that's what's next.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine the line of people? Like what that line looks like that show up to purchase a used urinal, a urinal that has been used so much that it needs to be replaced, and being excited to have it in their house. You and I were talking about stadium seats. That's one thing, right? Collector's item. Does it hold true for the urinal? What's next? What's after the urinal?
I mean, it doesn't get lower except when it actually gets lower. The actual toilet is the only, at least in the urinal, we know it's number one. Okay.
Oh my God. Well,
you start selling Paycor Stadium toilets.
You hope it's number one. You've seen Bengals fans and
it's true.
Some of those cold Sundays.
No question. So yeah, maybe that's next. We'll see how far they go with it because I'm gonna guess they sold all those TVs without much issue. There are more behind that in terms of the TV world.
I will say this about them. I am in the process of trying to take over an indoor baseball facility in northern Kentucky. And I need to put new turf in there. And I went as far as to contact the Bengals to ask about the turf they were tearing up to see if I could buy some of it, and was told it is not usable and that it was being scrapped and recycled. So they aren't trying to get a dime out of every possible thing.
Hold on. You're telling me it is today considered not usable, but 7 months ago, the professional football teams were playing on it. Correct?
Take from that what you will.
Just want to make sure.
It cannot be salvaged. That's what I was told.
Cannot be salvaged. See, that's what I've always had interest in. I've always wanted the turf. I've always wanted a line of turf from anywhere,
I have a little
really,
piece of Riverfront Stadium turf.
Oh,
just
you don't want
a tiny
that.
little swatch.
Just a swatch with a seam through it.
Yeah.
that someone's torn their ACL trying to
That's
step
right.
into. Yeah, that's what I need. That's what I need. Let's talk Bengals shirts for the season. Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you guys at? You guys got so many collections. You go to cincyshirts.com right now and you go to collections and it like overtakes the screen. There's so many different things you can do, different things you guys have done. I love the Father's Day that you guys have. You guys did Mother's Day, which was huge for any dads out here who are like, I have no gift. And it
Yep.
was, you could have your kid essentially draw anything from your kid's artwork, something they make,
A photo.
bring it in.
Yeah.
And you guys would just put it on a shirt for them to give as a gift, which is an
Yeah.
unbelievable idea and saves so many asses at the last second without question.
It went over so well. And some of the art that came in was incredible. From, toddler scribbles to like really fun drawings. One little girl drew this like picture of pancakes with a face on it, and it said, "No one stacks up to you, Mom," or something. I mean, it was just like just instant melt your heart kind of stuff. And so we're like, we should just do this year round. So we're leaning into it for Father's Day. But I'll tell you, any of our 3 locations, they all have printers in the store. At any time, you can come in with your own artwork or a photo, and we'll print it on a shirt while you wait. It's a great gift. And man, I can't wait to see what comes in for Father's Day.
Yeah, that will be awesome. My daughter, we had socks made a few years ago and they were pink, and she drew a picture of like a heart essentially with stinky feet of like, and you could see the like wave lines of stink coming off. And I'm like, I wear them to games, like road games, almost universally, like just because it's a great thing to have and remember. But it's like, that's better than any socks I've ever purchased in my life. I mean, the wave lines of the stink coming off the feet was just cracks me up every single time. So it is, and it's an awesome gift. It's a unique gift to get. It's such a great idea what you guys are doing, and you got the access to crank them out real quick. So that's super cool stuff. But you also can crank out Bengals shirts on command, which you guys do. Football. Yeah,
shirt.
you're right. Football shirts. That's correct. Any football shirt. That's correct.
We've been blessed to work with the likes of Sam Hubbard's foundation. We do donate unofficially a amount of money from any shirt featuring the likeness of our star quarterback. We always send a cut of that to the Joe Burrow Foundation, even though we're not involved in any capacity with them. I'm hoping to, but it's not the case right now. Any of the players that have their own foundation or a charity that they care a lot about, we always love to work with them. We did a bunch of stuff with DJ Reader last year that was really cool, and I was sad to see him go because I kind of got to be friends with him through Bengals Nation and working with him at Cincy Shirts. But it's funny because last summer really kind of got it started, and hopefully we're trending in that way, that the Reds and FC Cincinnati being still relevant in June and July have been very helpful to us as a shirt company, that we can continue to crank out, sort of those viral moment designs. And, Bengals stuff is right around the corner. So we haven't even really turned our full attention to it yet. I'm sure we'll start cranking some stuff out here as we approach training camp. But we've also, started to lean into some of the other stuff that we're able to sell that kind of complement our design. So like we've got Jamar and Joe Funkos, which are really hard to find, but we've got those in store.
Yeah.
And some of the sweet Joe Burrow McFarlane figures, which are like the fully detailed, like just cool stuff that kind of, keeps people coming in for more than just the shirts. But we'll be cranking stuff out as news hits and as new ideas come up.
Joey Warhol is still my wife's go-to t-shirt that she wears at anything. If I ever have to drag her to something that could be like Bengals related or whatever, she loves to trot out Joey Warhol. I wanted to, I love Run Hubbard Run, which you guys did with his foundation from back in the day. I saw lots of people when I went to his event at the Folding Warehouse. I saw more than a few people sporting the Ron Hubbard Run shirts and getting those signed and things like that, which was really cool. But Mark and I have, we spent an inordinate amount of time talking about the nicknames for the Brown boys, Trent Brown and Orlando Brown, when that was just the two of them before Amarius Mims. And we came up with one that I think is better than anything that's been said so far. And that was the Bouncers, and the idea of the two of them in front of a club, right? As the Bouncers. And so I'm just saying,
I love
now
it.
Trent Brown's got to win the starting job, and everyone's going to want Amarius Mims to be a part of this. So his drafting kind of threw off our Bouncers thing, but I still think if you also have Chase Brown. They could be standing with Chase Brown really little in between them, right? Like he probably only comes up to like their belly button, right? Because he's like 5'9". And so you have Chase Brown. Maybe they're protecting Chase Brown, so he's behind them and Burrow's kind of behind him or something. Whatever it is, I think the concept of the Bouncers has a lot of legs and could be a shirt idea. I mean, the Cincinnati skyline has been this, like, I feel like it's the very corporate version. But everybody knows where the good stuff is.
What if we did, this is really dating myself, but I know you'll get the reference. What if we had a picture of Mike Brown with them and we did like a different strokes take?
Wow. That would be, that's inspired.
Would enough people get it? Would enough people get the reference?
Does it matter?
What you talking about, Mike? That's the name of the shirt.
I love it.
That's one of my favorite, and it's funny because whenever I'm around Ted Karras, like I feel like all I want to do is talk about Webster. Because that was his uncle. Yeah. That was his uncle on the show.
Yes. I always love anytime Ted references great players, he always calls whoever it is the second greatest interior lineman because of his lineage, playing his uncle playing or whatever, playing football. But he has so many great connections that are worthwhile. So yeah, that's great. I was going to say this, Jermaine Burton's love of aliens has become very well known. Mo and I spend a lot of time, inordinate amount of time as well, talking about aliens on these podcasts. And so I feel like once you get into the new fun rookie Jermaine Burton season, be thinking aliens world. I feel like there's a lot of UFO alien type of stuff that could be in play for us here when we get to Jermaine Burton.
I love it. I love it. I'd love to get him on board too.
Yeah. Bionic Burrow, by the way. I mean, at some point we need to start celebrating that he's playing through all these injuries. In terms of shirt, I think some sort of bionic man.
We have one.
There is one.
Yeah. It's I don't remember what we called it, but it was like a $6 million man. We can rebuild him. We have the technology. But there was one of similar to that where he was kind of like robotic. I'll have to find it. I'll send it to you. But I know we had one at one point.
Yeah, I love you. You know that there is no event that can't be put on a shirt. When I saw that you guys had a T franchise tagged shirt in your collection, it just says T tagged, like from like a graffiti tagged.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no. That's when you know you're in the off season. Like, you think we could sell some shirts off the fact that he got franchise tagged?
Well, we'll throw up anything. I mean, that's the beauty of print on demand, is that it's just see what sticks,
Yes.
And if we don't sell any, we don't sell any.
Love it.
Yeah, we got a bunch of stuff on here. I was at our warehouse yesterday and I saw the Cousin Eddie design, and then the Joe and Jamar with the Tiger Siegfried and Roy-esque shirt.
Yes.
So many good ones. I mean, there really are. Our designers are, I put them up against anybody in the industry with just the way that they can take some random idea that we have in our design chat, and then within a half hour it's like a fully fleshed out, ready to go on a shirt.
sipping on win and juice in
Yep.
here, which is pretty solid. Well done.
6 or 9, we're all having fun. That was
Yeah.
our big Jake Browning taking the reins shirt.
I missed that one last year. Must have in the midst of the madness of all of that. I wasn't checking it enough. So the process, and this is kind of be a fun thing. I'd love to explore. Like what a game happens. Bengals play on Sunday, whatever. You're thinking about football shirts from that moment. I mean, is that an immediate? Is there a chat happening during the game? Does it
yeah.
happen afterwards? Would you guys have planned meetings for after big games, or
We
how
have
does that play
chat.
out?
We have a design chat that is active 24/7.
Yeah.
And someone in our chat is watching, if it's a West Coast Reds game that's in extra innings at 1 a.m, there's at least 2 or 3 of us that are watching it, ready to go if something happens. It's just always active. So typically we'll just start. It's sort of obvious when things happen, right? Social media plays a part of it, but also we've tried to train our brains to look for stuff. So as soon as something starts to take hold, I'm very proud of the fact that people will tag us saying, can't wait to see what Cincy Shirts comes up with, or some quote that a player had, put it on a shirt, Cincy Shirts, and tag us. So I love that people think of us for that sort of thing now. But yeah, we're always cranking through ideas and seeing what we can come up with.
Love it. There will be no shortage of them coming very soon.
That's a thing about Burrow not playing. Is it not only is it from a business aspect of Cincy Shirts, is when he's not in front of a microphone giving these quotes that everybody takes and runs with. Like it's a lot of content that's kind of off the table for us to turn into a shirt. So not only do we love to see him play and helping us win games, but it's usually what comes out after the fact of something he said. The better send those refunds was like a huge shirt for us. And so it's the F it, Jamar's down there somewhere, like that quote by itself was on a shirt. We love all that stuff, not just what happens in the game, but what happens in interviews and press conferences afterwards.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. I love it. Josh, you are on tour as always, but you're relatively close to Cincinnati next month, right? You're in Lexington and Louisville in July.
I have one night in Louisville and 2 nights in Lexington in July. So not a bad drive, because I don't do a ton of local shows other than our monthly show that I do with Mark at the Madison Theater called Joke Gym. That's the first Tuesday of every month. So we just had that last week and it was fantastic. A lot of fun. Come down to that first Tuesday every month, 8 p.m. at the Madison Theater. It's comedians, professional and amateur comedians, trying out new material and then getting instant feedback from professional comedians on different angles or ways to add to the joke, or like basically you get to see how the sausage gets made for comedy, and we do it all in front of a live audience, and it's people have absolutely loved it. So I'm excited to keep growing that.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a ton in the past, but I'm a big fan of like the art of comedy. Where Mitch Hedberg guys, and like no one was a greater artist of it, and so I love the idea of seeing how something grows from something that was funny that you saw or thought of with your friends to something on stage to something that is tight that's being able to be used in an act like that. It's so cool and so unique, and the fact that you guys have given an outlet for that is really awesome. And I'm sure something that you guys just enjoy is something you would want to do anyway, like just out of something you like to do.
Yeah, writing sessions have existed for as long as I've been in comedy, where it's just the comics in a room together bouncing stuff off. But the dynamic of adding a live audience to get true feedback from it, right away. I think it's cool for the audience to hear comics talking to each other in a writing room type session. And I think it's great for the comics to actually have someone that isn't a comedian listen to it as you try it out and work it out.
I mean, it's a shame that the tiger got loose after your guys' joke, Jim. I mean, I feel like you guys could have really done a lot of loose tiger material there that you could have really worked through on Tuesday.
It'll have a short shelf life, but definitely worth a mention. That's something that I struggle with a lot when I come up with material is do I spend a lot of time on something that has a short shelf life but everybody's talking about, or do I try to just do stuff that is a little bit more evergreen and is relatable as like a dad or a husband or a guy in his 40s. But I usually stick to the topical stuff for social media because it has such a short shelf life, and then do the longer lasting stuff for my act.
Yeah. Well, make sure you go check out Josh if you get a chance. Go to joshsneed.com.
Yeah.
And the full tour schedule is there. I know a lot of you guys have come out for Mark when he's been at places on the road too. So Josh is all over the place. Check out his tour schedule coming to a city near you, including Vegas. I saw you have the extended Vegas run at Brad Garrett's place.
It's very cool. I'm now one of, I think, 4 comics that they are bringing twice a year. So I get to do that club twice a year, and it's everything you would hope it would be when you're a comedian that dreams of playing Vegas.
Yeah, unbelievable. You know what? Just another excuse for me to go to Vegas, and not that I need one. Let's add it in. Let's
love to have you.
Love it. So, Josh, thanks for coming in. Great to have you. Always a great convo. And we'll I'm sure we'll be crossing paths in the very near future. I'll probably see you down at camp, right? You gonna bring I'll
probably
fam down?
Yeah, I hope to make it down one of the days. Yeah, man. But don't get to see you enough, man. You're my dude, and keep up the great work.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, Josh. We'll talk to you next time. Have a good one, everybody.